Hi everybody, this is January 17th, 2026, and this video is part of my journal of my recovery from the trauma of watching my little brother, Paul Kierans, 64 with Down syndrome, be locked away by the British Columbia New Democratic Party government, David E.B. as leader, for 588 days. That's 176 missed scheduled visits before he died. So Paul was locked away. Paul and I grew up together, and we visited at will until I complained to the Burnaby RCMP in August of 2022. I complained when I discovered that the government had created a secret, and I allege a fraudulent and forged power of attorney over Paul, appointing my 82-year-old Catholic nun sister 4,000 kilometers away in Ontario as Paul's guardian. So they gave away all of Paul's civil rights, human rights, to someone that they could control, and someone who didn't understand Paul's speech or communication. So when the RCMP tipped off the group home that I had complained, their lawyer terminated my visits. She said, "You'll never see your brother again." This is after me caring for Paul, and I took him to Newfoundland twice. We traveled together, we holidayed together. I'm one of a handful of people in the world that could understand his speech and communication. I'm only 2 years older than him. The nun that they appointed his guardian is 16 years older than him, 13 years older than me. I didn't grow up with her. I don't know her. So I fought tooth and nail through the courts of British Columbia to try and restore Paul's freedom and his right to visit with me. And I was his last surviving family member and visitor, and he's my last surviving family member and visitor in Greater Vancouver. I fought right up to the Court of Appeal twice to restore our visits, but I was not able to do that. And then when the nun found out that the RCMP had been ordered by Ottawa, their oversight agency in Ottawa, to reopen the investigation into the fraudulent and forged power of attorney, she instructed her lawyers. She had 2 law firms working for her around the clock. I estimate the Catholic Church, of which I'm a member, they've spent almost $2 million on her representation. But anyways, when she found out that the RCMP had contacted me, the Burnaby RCMP had contacted me to tell me they were reopening the investigation into the fraudulent and forged power of attorney. As soon as she found that out, then she instructed her lawyers to apply to the courts to have me declared a vexatious litigant. A vexatious litigant is a very, very rare designation for a human being that takes away your access to the courts and basically your civil rights. So people can sue me and I can't even respond without permission of a judge. And I appealed. They went to court and they had a 4-day hearing and obtained an order declaring me a vexatious litigant, taking away my access to the British Columbia courts. Although I practiced law, I was trained as a lawyer at the University of British Columbia and practiced law for 23 years. They disgraced me and took away all of my access to the courts. I have to apply to a judge if I even want to file an affidavit. And Paul, and when she found out that the RCMP had contacted me, they phoned me on April 21st of 2024 and said that they were ordered to reopen the investigation. Within a day, Paul was dead. He had had some kind of stroke and was at Burnaby Hospital. I was only allowed a 10-minute visit once a day. He appeared to be recovering. He was doing very well. He squeezed my hand so tight when I said, "Paul, it's Kathleen." That was the first time that we had seen each other for 2 years in person. And he sat up, he grabbed a book from my hand, turned the pages perfectly. He appeared to be recovering, but as soon as she found out on April 22nd that the RCMP had contacted me and that I knew she was being investigated for the fraudulent and forged power of attorney, she ordered the medical staff to withdraw all of Paul's medical supports. So he had an oxygen mask and a ventilator. They withdrew his oxygen mask. They did this right in front of me, and they sedated him to death. I complained to the staff, nursing staff. I said, I think you're over-sedating him, because as soon as she found out that I knew she was being investigated, he seemed to be going to a steep decline and to be over-sedated. I think they did medical assistance in dying on him, which is illegal, because he is not capable of consenting to it. He was struggling to recover. I could see he was in his eyes, he was so frightened, and he was struggling to recover. Anyways, he passed away, and then she obtained the order declaring me a vexatious litigant. So she took away all of his rights. The British Columbia New Democratic Party government took away all of my little brother's rights, and then they took away all of my rights. I applied for leave to appeal. I appealed that to the Court of Appeal of British Columbia, and they dismissed my appeal. And I've applied for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. All the documents were submitted on September 3rd of 2025, and it's now January 17th of 2026, and I still haven't heard from them. So what I'm asking you to do is, first of all, please contribute to my GoFundMe account. There'll be a link in the description of this video. All you have to do is click on the link. Any amount that you could contribute would be much appreciated. This has been a terrible miscarriage of justice. The second thing you can do is just call the registry, the Supreme Court of Canada registry in Ottawa. Just give them a call on Monday morning and ask them what's the status of my case. I'll put the phone number in the description box for this video. The name of the case is Walker versus Kierans, file number 41902. And I'll put that information in the description box for this video. And if you can do those two things, that would be so appreciated, and this is a case of national importance. The people family members and loved ones contribute $100 billion to the care of disabled people in Canada every year. And that this will have a chilling effect on people like me who want to care for and visit with their loved ones. So please contribute to our GoFundMe account and call the Supreme Court of Canada on Monday morning and ask them what's the status of my case. Thank you, everybody. I love you all.